They had eaten lunch on that deck every Sunday for 3 summers. It was their favorite place on the property. Warm planking in the afternoon, the view of the garden, a table at exactly the right height. Dex Callahan had sanded and resealed it himself 2 springs ago. He knew that deck the way a person knows something they have maintained with their own hands. He was certain there was nothing wrong with it. Frost began refusing the sliding door on a Thursday. The Great Pyrenees was 2 years old, white and enormous, already past 90 pounds with the dense double coat of a dog bred to guard livestock in mountain terrain. He was not an anxious dog. He was not a dog that refused things without reason. He simply had not yet encountered many things that gave him reason to refuse. The sliding door to the deck was one of the routes he used daily. He knew it. He had been through it hundreds of times. On Thursday afternoon, he planted himself in front of it and would not move. Vivian was 20 months old, sun-hatted, already pointing at the sliding door with the specific insistence of a toddler who has decided on a destination. Dex tried to guide Frost aside. Frost was 90 pounds and committed. He held his position in front of the door with the specific, immovable quality of an animal that has made a structural decision and is not open to revision. Dex read this as territorial behavior, possibly related to a neighbor's new dog he had spotted in the adjacent yard. Great Pyrenees were guardian breeds. He had researched this. They established perimeters. Occasionally they needed to be reminded who set those perimeters. He called Frost off firmly. Frost moved back 3 feet, then returned to the door as soon as Dex's attention shifted. Vivian cried. Dex tried once more. Frost was unmoved. His sister-in-law, visiting for the week, suggested the crate. Frost had never shown crate resistance before, and did not show it now. He went in without protest, lay down and pointed his nose at the wall in the direction of the sliding door. The crate did not change what he was detecting. He knew what was under the deck. The crate was just a room he was detecting it from. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. On Friday morning, Frost refused the door again before Dex had the crate open. On Friday afternoon, Dex stood at the sliding door looking out at the deck and looked very carefully at everything he could see. The planking was clean. The railing was solid. The table was where he had left it. There was nothing visually wrong with the deck in any way he could assess from standing at the glass. He opened the door and stepped out alone without Vivian, and stood on the planks and looked around again. He walked to the railing and back. He stepped off the edge of the deck onto the grass and turned around and looked at the underside. The colony was 6 weeks old and the size of a basketball. Bald-faced hornets had built their nest against one of the primary support joists, paper gray, perfectly formed, active, with the specific suspended stillness of a colony that had not yet been disturbed. Dex stood in the grass 3 feet from his deck and did not move for 10 seconds. Then he stepped back slowly and went inside. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. The pest control specialist who arrived Saturday morning, Marcus Delgado, 22 years in the industry, assessed the colony from a distance before suiting up. He said it was one of the largest he had seen in a residential setting. Bald-faced hornet colonies defend aggressively and without prior provocation when vibration reaches the nest. Normal footstep vibration on deck planking at this stage of colony maturity would have been sufficient. A toddler walking across the deck, a chair being pushed back. He looked at the underside of the planking and then looked at Dex. A colony this size, disturbed, would produce a swarm response in under 15 seconds. He said, "Your dog had been refusing this area for 2 days. Dogs detect the specific alarm pheromone compounds that social wasps produce as a colony defense signal. He was reading an alarm that had not been triggered yet. If your dog is a guardian breed, trust the refusal until you understand the reason. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never ask for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The nest was removed Saturday. The deck was safe Sunday. Dex resealed 2 boards near the joist where the colony had been attached, and stood back and looked at the structure he had built with his hands, and thought about the category of thing that hides, in the place you think you know best. Next week, a golden retriever who refused to let the family eat from a dish at a gathering. Nobody could smell anything wrong. He could. That evening, Frost went through the sliding door before anyone invited him, and walked to the center of the deck and stood there for a moment in the late August light. Then he came back inside and went to his usual spot by the kitchen, and lay down with the specific, settled quality of an animal that has closed a matter and returned to its baseline. Vivian walked out onto the deck for the first time in 3 days, barefoot, and the planks were warm, and the garden was green, and there was nothing under the deck but the smell of treated wood and empty air.